The year started off pretty crazy. We had the January right here.
The January.
We had January. So we had January. Hi everyone, and welcome to Reality Check, where we discuss what's happening in Toronto real estate market, where it's going, and help you make informed decision buying or selling real estate. First of all, Happy New Year.
Welcome back.
And this year, we're gonna try and elevate this show, make it better for you guys. So if you have any comments, be sure to leave the comments below.
Yes.
If you think anyone would find this information useful, share it with them. And don't forget to click that subscribe. This episode, what we're gonna talk about is overall year in review, plus what happened in December. So let's start off with Market Watch. What's going on in the market? The year started off pretty crazy. So we had January starting off. That's where the prices were elevating. And we had the peak in February. And from there, things slowly came down.
Yeah.
Reason for that?
The interest rates also.
Yeah. In March,
went up.
The first interest rate hike happened. And people were, leading up to March, people were kind of like, they knew this was coming down the pipeline. So everyone was trying to get in there, get their rates fixed, and get the properties they were looking for.
Exactly.
And when March, the interest rate went up, it was only half a point. But with that being said, things slowly start to come down. As we can see here.
And slowly, right? Like we were saying, it really peaked dramatically, but the come off was a little bit.
It was much better than going
out.
up, yeah. It took about 4 months for it to level off. And as we can see, we had February, then March, April, May, June, and around June and July, we found the bottom. So the bottom of the market around $1,074,000. Peak of the market over $1.33 million. So from June, July, August, September, everything kind of floated. We had a slight increase in average prices. Everything was fine till around November. November, we had a slight dip in the prices. We were still in line with the bottom, which was $1,074,000. And in December, the average price landed at $1,051,000. And again, that's rightfully so, because usually December, it's a slower month.
Yeah.
Every year that we see, except 2021, which was nuts.
And the year before.
And the
two last Decembers were crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And right now we're back to the normal cycle.
Yeah, it felt
in normal
nice.
cycles, everything kind of slowly, I would say, dies off around December.
A little bit, yeah. It's okay.
Average prices come down, sales volume comes down. Not a lot of people actually want to list in December, especially if they miss the first week or two. So everything kind of, goes till after January. And this is why we see this. And if I go back to all the other Decembers, right now we're looking at it, let's say 2019 December, which if you recall 2019 December, things were getting heated. But if you look at right here, we can clearly see that around the December mark, we had a little dip in the prices. So we started a year with just over 4,000 active listings. Things slowly, gradually built up all the way to around June, which we had the lowest, one of the lowest average prices, June, July. And then right now we ended up about 8,700 sales. 8,700 active listings. Why did the active listings drop? Most people that don't get their prices are not putting their homes up for sale. And a lot of people see what the prices are.
And it's bad news. Yeah, they don't want, it's not very exciting.
Yeah, if you don't have to sell, you're not selling. On the good side of the news is that as we have less active listing, prices are holding steady. And this is why we're not seeing that much of a drop in prices. So we had about 8,700 active listings. In November, we had close to 12,000. We had about 3,200 less homes to sell in December. And if we go back in October we had about just over 13,000 sales. So I'm just trying to do the math. We're about 4,000, close to almost 4,000, 5,000 in volume. From October, we have about 4,500 actually, 4,500 less.
He's
homes
looking
to
at
sell.
me with the math as if I'm going to give you the answer.
Well, I'm just trying to do the math in my head, but that's a lot of homes that have been taken off the market. So this is why we see sub 3 months of inventory overall in the market. So let's just talk about like overall what happened in the months of inventory.
What happened?
Craziness. We started in January with less than 1 month of inventory, 0.73 months of inventory. That's what, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Nick, is it 3 weeks? That's about 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's
That's about 3
weeks.
weeks. And this is why we saw the run up in prices. January, February. February, we had 0.77 months of inventory. Again, if nothing else came on the market, it would take about 3 weeks to sell the entire inventory of GTA homes. That's
not realistic.
Not realistic. And not sustainable as well. As March came and interest rates went up, we gradually see the rise in the months of inventory. So we had 0.93 months of inventory. It goes up to 1.6. And then we go all the way to July at the peak where we had the most inventory in the market, 3.12 months of inventory. And
you say it like it's so detrimental.
Well, it's actually not. But for Toronto, I think people are like so wired to not have any homes to purchase. And this is exactly the month we had 1,074,000, one of the lowest average prices of the year till now, recently December. But December kind of like...
It always falls off a little.
Yeah, you got to seasonally adjust that because I usually don't care about that month in a normal cycle because people don't purchase a lot of homes. Usually after 15th, 16th of December, everything is off. So,
and that just is a testament to how much the interest rates really influence and affect the market. We always say months of inventory is the number one tell sign of what kind of a market and what the market is doing, and it is.
Yeah.
But the interest rate really is a sneaky bugger because if you look at it, the minute that happens, it really skews all of the numbers, right?
So with the interest rate rising, so we had the interest rates at 0.25%. Since March, about 9 months, we had them go up 4%, which is crazy. It's like one of the, like we've never had something like this going back in the history. The last time something like this almost happened was 1937. Like things like this don't happen.
And you would think that with the interest rate rising so rapidly in such a short period of time, that prices would be a lot lower than they are.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to what the Toronto market is. We're not sustainable. We're really resilient to all of these changes.
And again, reason for that prices have held. I mean, we're going to talk about it.
As much as they dropped, they held.
Well, they had a big drop in a few months and everything held steady because they found the resistance, I would say.
Yeah.
At the bottom price of each market, whatever it was, people were still coming in because they would find it as a good deal that they could afford. And the reason for that is the immigration numbers. And we're going to talk about it in the news segment. But we had over, I think, 430,000 permanent resident card given out in 2022, which is nuts.
Which is nothing in compared to what's coming.
These are the points that you gotta take into account as well as employment to see if the market is gonna be holding or it's gonna be going down. This many people coming here, they're gonna need a place to live. So, I mean, how much lower do you think the prices are gonna go? Another thing that we want to talk about is the average prices. So we started the year with $1,243,000 almost, and we ended the year with $1,051,000. Days on the market. We started at about 13 days on the market. We went as low as 8, and then we're at 27. So 13 days on the market in January.
1 week versus 1 month.
Yeah.
Really?
Literally. And we remembered everything had an offer presentation. Run, and then have, 56 offers.
Which is funny because all you hear right now is the interest rates are so high. Oh my God. But like fast forward in a couple of months when that goes down, you're going to be like, I can't believe that I have to put 10 offers on a property before securing something.
Pay over $1 million.
I can't believe there's 20 offers on this property.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't wait for those days to come back and like deal with that whole other set of conversations.
But one thing we don't hear is that, oh, this guy bought this house at 1.5. Nah, I just bought a house for 1.1. You got to take into effect and consideration. Yeah, the fact that you're getting $5,400,000 in a lot of the areas. And what I'm gonna actually go into details about right now is different products in Toronto and New York and how the prices
really vary.
Yeah, vary. Since January till now, so we can get a good grasp of it because whoever's watched the show, if you haven't, you got to go watch. you will see at the peak of around June, July, the detached in York region had dropped by over 400,000. But we're gonna see that gap has shrunk, and I think it's in the 200,000 range. So actually, you know what? Let's go and take a look at that. So let's start with detached homes in Toronto. So the detached homes in Toronto, they've come down off their peak by about $260,000 since January. So that's about 14% drop. Semis have dropped by about $319,000. That's 22% drop since January. Townhomes, $201,000 drop. That's about 19%. And condos have had the least drop by 3%.
And this is in Toronto, so it's always less volatile in Toronto. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. And the reason for condos actually being less affected is because of the affordability of them. Between $500,000, $700,000 price point, there's a lot of affordability, and this is why they've kept their, footing. We're gonna compare it to York. York was almost like over almost four times that drop.
But still, the correction is mainly in the detached, and
Yeah, the correction is mainly in the detached
both.
because of the higher prices that we saw. So York region, the drop of the detached was about 15% higher than the detached in Toronto. So the price drop was about $287,000 from January till December. Semi-detached was about $431,000. That was 29% drop. I just want to say something about that because not a lot of semis exist in York to begin with. So most likely the ones that traded were on the lower end of the spectrum or not of quality. This is why I don't think overall semis have dropped that much, because they're one of the most still affordable product between someone wants to upgrade from a townhouse to a detached. It's right in the middle. With the townhomes, $265,000 drop, about 19%, and condos have dropped by 11%. And dollar figure for that is $86,500. That's a drop for the condos in York region.
It's not the first bottom that we've had. It's not going to be the last. We're well prepared, in my opinion. Yeah. We knew it was coming.
What everyone needs to take into consideration is even if you bought it, anything, let's say you bought it, any property in the first 3 months of the year, you're in the market for the long haul. If you bought something in the January, February, March, April of 2017, you can see the peak here. The average prices were below $1 million. Things fell off. I personally purchased in 2017 and I thought, okay, you know what? Things are crazy. I'm never going to make my money back. But look at this, as the time progressed right now, January of 2022.
Don't you wish you would have held on to that?
Well, yeah, we're over $1.3 million average price point. So over time, things will normalize. Do not look at it month over month. Do not even look at it year over year.
No one buys and sells within the same year, right? Unless you really, really have to, which is not likely.
Another thing to also consider is that different product types are behaving differently. So I just want to bring up this graph to just quickly show the different
the two
behaviors.
Graphs,
yeah, there's two graphs. One is average prices in Toronto. So we got the blue line as detached. Then we have the semis right behind underneath it, towns and condos. If you look at the detached, you see that price of detached kind of bottomed in July, and since then it's slowly going up, and that's because of the lack of inventory in Toronto. And as you can see, even in December, the average prices went up. Same thing is happening.
But it looks like everything is going down, and that is the only one going up.
That is the only one going up because of lack of inventory. There's a lot of condos being built, so the supply of it is not really helping with the push in prices. No. Although I think with the amount of people coming in, they will go up, but not as much as detached because the inventory is much limited. Same thing in the 905 region. As we can see, the detached market is slowly going up.
Well, it went up quite significantly if you look
in the last 2 months.
I'm talking even past 2021.
Yeah.
It was really steady before that.
Yeah, so these two lines that we have here are the towns and semis. So they kind of intersect in 905 area. And again, because of the lack of semi, in the 905 region overall. Price is kind of interesting. Sometimes, if you're in a townhouse, I've had a client that literally just traded same price townhouse for the same semi. If you're out there looking, you can get these deals. What do we want to do? Nick, can we put the links for these charts in below?
Absolutely.
Amazing. So we're going to put this chart because these charts are actually, we put in all the data since 2017 average prices for all types of homes. So you can take a look at it and see how they fluctuate month over month. So we're looking at the whole area of GTA as a whole. Now we're going to go to the sub-markets. Let's start with Toronto. The average price in Toronto is almost $1,018,000. We're about 0.5% below last year. And again, as we said earlier, less volatility in Toronto market.
Prices are up 7%, which is really healthy.
One thing we always look at is the rolling average of 12 months to normalize things. Because, year over year, sometimes 1 month is going to be different.
Skews things.
Yes, skews things. And just to mention that January stats are going to come out and people are going to panic. And they're going to say, oh, January over January, things are down 25%. So you don't look at it like that, just 1 month over 1 month.
Yeah.
You want to roll it out over 12 months. So if you roll out 12 months, average price for January, February, March, all the way, and divided by 12, get the average of that. In 2020, compare that to 2021, we're up 7.9%, right? So again, the average prices are higher when you normalize things, because the first 3 months of the year, we had some crazy numbers that slowly came down. So in terms of months of inventory, Toronto has over 3 months of inventory.
God forbid.
God forbid, literally. In my opinion, that's good, but people are going to panic. Reason for that is higher supply of condos in Toronto that is contributing to the higher months of inventory. I mean, if we look at it right now, condo sales are about 646 units in the months of December. 2021, we had 1,447. So the sales have come down, inventory has built up, and this is why we see condos hovering around 500,000 to 600,000, a lot of them in Toronto market. So that month's inventory, you got to be wary of it because it takes into account all types of housing. When we go down to York region, things are a little bit different. So the average price in York region, $1,260,000, almost $8,000, 11% below December of 2021. So the prices have come down, but you got to also take into
what's
account
contributing to that number is the larger unit, the larger home types.
Larger home types, the detached homes have dropped. Second, if you bought a home in 2020, we got to literally look at these things in a bigger span, even more than 2 years, but I just want to do it for 2 years. So 2020, almost $85,000 average price point. Right now we're to $1,267,500. So the average of that comes down to about 17% increase in prices over 2 years. Per year is 8.5.
Well, if you just look at the simple upward pressure in pricing here from 2020 to 2021, it's up by 400K, and then it's just down ever so slightly.
Yeah. I mean, it always goes up and down, so don't panic. You bought a home, it's a great investment, hold on to it. If it's an investment property, rents are up, just enjoy it.
It's like, why are you selling? That's the big one. Why?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't need to sell, you don't need to sell, but if you have to, then, we're going to talk about that. There are ways to try to minimize the damage. Durham region, one of the hottest regions right now, 1.9 months of inventory. So that's an area that had one of the highest growth in the price. Then it came down. Right now, the average price in Durham region sits at about $874,000. Perfect for first-time home buyers.
Do you think that this is because last year people were kind of looking outwards because of affordability, and Durham was the next best thing?
Exactly. So that's usually the case. People try to drive till they can afford. Yeah. So last year we were over $1 million, and Durham region has never been over $1 million. We're at $1,033,000 in 2021. Now we're back to $874,000. Keep in mind, 2020, the average price was $778,000. $100,000. So if you bought a house on average in Durham in 2020 till now, you would be up over 12%, exactly 12.4%. I mean, that's 6.2% per year. Again, historic average hovers around 7.5. We're 6.2. You're still doing good.
Yeah.
If you haven't bought anything, now is a good time to be purchasing in Durham region, because I think in the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a big boom happening in Durham just because of the proximity to Toronto. If so far you found this episode useful, if you think anyone could benefit from it, please share it and be sure to hit that subscribe button.
And I want to add, if you don't like what we're saying, if there's something you don't understand, put it in the comments so we can tweak this. If it's overwhelming or you want to debunk something, we're happy to, tweak it. It's for you guys. So at the end of the day,
any questions, leave it in the comments below or message us on Instagram. Or
don't do that. Call us, text us.
No, don't call or text me.
Email me.
Just message me on Instagram. That would be the best way to do it. Let's have that Instagram handle down there. So let's talk about the average prices in Mississauga. It's sitting at $977,000. Again, below $1 million price point. Yeah. It's down over 10% year over year. As you can see, active listing is up 226%. But you got to really pay attention because last year was crazy. There was nothing on the market. Yeah. And because of that, we see 226%. If you roll it back all the way to 2020, we were sitting at around 676, almost the same number. Mm-hmm. So this is a healthy amount of homes to be on the market.
The amount of homes that were purchased versus up for sale was like almost 100%. So the absorption rate was really, really high. And right now here it's not.
In terms of active listing, that's how much should be.
Similar. So you know what? It's not a bad day if you look at it in that way. So if you add that layer.
Exactly. And if you take into account like 2020 average price, $873,000 till now, over 2 years, you're still up by about close to 6%. And we're still 2.6 months of inventory there. So things are, again, starting to heat up over there. Yeah. So let's talk about Oakville. That's one of the areas that I think there's a lot of opportunities. We've been talking about it over the last 3 months, I would say. And that's one pocket that has 3.83 months of inventory, close to 4 months of inventory.
Which is not actually so bad if you think about the price point.
Yeah.
The price point there is always very, very high.
Yeah, it's even higher than Toronto.
It's absolutely higher than Toronto. And so getting into that market is sometimes a little bit more difficult for people to wrap their heads around. But right now, if you were thinking about going to Oakville, it's the perfect opportunity for you to get in there.
Even if you're not thinking of going to Oakville, you should be. If you're looking in Mississauga, go a little bit west. Yeah. You're going to get some steals right now compared to what it was a few months ago. So prices year over year are down 6.2%. Active listings are up 350%. But I want to put that in perspective. Active listing 356 units. Back in 2019, we had the same amount of active listings. The only difference right now is the sales have dropped. So because of the sales being lower, this is why you have higher months of inventory, and this is where you can get some deals. One thing that I always tell my own client is you got to be in the market to look at the deals that are coming up. You can't be like, I'm going to wait till all the,
when they wake up.
Yeah, all the interest rate hikes have happened, then I'm going to go in the market. No, you're not going to see it because you can get deals that are below technical market value. So let's say a house is $1.5 million. Seller needs it sold in the next 2 weeks with a 30-day closing. If you're in the market, if you have the cash and you have no condition and you can give them the quick closing, you could probably get that for $1.4 million. Or maybe even lower or whatever it is. And this is why you got to be in the market to grab these deals.
Yeah. Do you also think that maybe people that did purchase here were over leveraged to begin with? And so they're forced to sell?
The active listing 356 in 2022 is very in line with the 2019 number 352.
Yeah, you got it.
The only thing that has dropped is total sales. Reason is prices have grown so much. In 2019, average price was $1,064,000.
Yeah.
Now we're sitting at almost 1,450,000. Back in March, it was probably around 1.6, 1.7 million. The prices grew so much that people saw interest rates going up. They're like, you know what, let's pull the brake. Let's not purchase here because, you know, prices are crazy. Interest rates are going to be nuts. I can afford it.
Right.
So that's why the prices have come down. Still, the prices in Oakville, in my opinion, is pretty high up. But again, another also fact for the higher average price point is because of lack of condos in Oakville region. So if you can see, condo sales only 14 units sold. There's a little inventory of condos. Yeah.
But there's some coming, which is
there's a lot
promising.
of pre-constructions coming. So, you know, that's another opportunity for people looking to invest in pre-con. Oakville is a good region to invest because of the lack of inventory in the region. Going into 2023, I feel like things are going to normalize. As soon as people realize there are no more interest rate hikes, people are going to come out the woodworks. And
that's going to be a scary time if you thought the last 2 years was active. Guys, strap in.
I feel like what's going to happen in the next few months could be the same as what happened during the 2 or 3 months of COVID that people held back, didn't purchase, and then they crushed the doors and they came in and they started buying. Another thing to also watch out for is as soon as the interest rates come down, I feel like there's going to be a frenzy. I also want to talk about assignments overall in last year. What do you think of assignment? Because at the beginning, it was like up to March, April, there were, you know, assignments were really hot. People were making good money on them. And now things have took a different turn.
I think that's where the opportunities are going to be. And I think I'm going to be hated a lot for saying that. But unfortunately, some people will not be able to qualify and will not be able to close. And so they will need to part ways with their investment or their home purchase. And that will be where the opportunities for people to pick up those units is, you know, because unfortunately, no one's going to want to forgo their deposits and they're going to have to sell to someone else. And that's going to be the good news for them. And it's a good day for somebody, you know, but at the end of the day, it's a good day for everyone. Because
and not to like name projects, but what I've noticed out there, there's a lot of assignments at One Young. People are selling them.
Trying to avoid it.
Trying to avoid it.
Oh my God, I just sent Gino so many of those actually. It's so funny.
So not to name names again, but with that project, in my opinion, whoever bought it, it was expensive to begin with. But right now, like the prices are normal. But oh my God, like people are letting them go at the price they bought it 4 years ago. And for whatever reason, the address is not One Young Street still. Probably the next tower will be, but let's not discuss that one right now.
And that's why I always say, do not buy with the intention to assign. Because if everyone in the building does that, guys, you are not making money. And your deposits are tied up with, you could have made money on something else. So buy with the intention to close. And if you want to assign, then great.
See, these are the bad advices people get. Like, you know, buy, you have an option to assign. Just
make it clear.
Yeah, no. It just, no, this is not the advice. We always tell our clients, buy with an intention to close. Yes. You have the option to assign. God forbid there is an emergency. Something happens unexpected. You do not buy pre-con to assign. Second, there's a lot of people right now, I see them, suffering because they purchased at the beginning of the year with an intention to flip a home. And same house is on the market. Nothing has happened since January. And they can't even sell it or they've renovated it. Let's talk about the news, some of the big news that happened. So we had the foreign buyer ban that is into effect since January 1st for 2 years.
Yeah.
No foreigners can buy, but
there's so many loopholes.
There's so many loopholes, yeah. Let's talk about, oh my God, that was nuts. Like, I mean, just talking about that.
And the vacancy tax, that's another one.
Well, let's just stick to the foreign buyers tax because I want to go through the exemptions because the exemptions kind of makes...
List is quite long.
Yeah, so let's just talk about like few of the big ones. First of all, Canadian citizens and permanent residents, they can buy. International students, those people can buy. There's going to be minimum years that they're in Canada. Workers who have worked and filed taxes in Canada for the last 3 years out of 4, they can buy. So essentially, anyone on a working visa that's been here and paying tax for the last 3 years, they can buy. Foreigners buying buildings containing more than 3 units. So if someone is building an apartment building, triplex, fourplex, you can still buy it. So those people can still buy it. That I didn't know. Cottages they can buy apparently. Mm-hmm. And
recreational, basically.
Yeah, vacation homes. That's nuts. I didn't even know that. And then consulates, they can still buy. And I was actually looking at the stats. I think in Ontario, it was about 3.5% of the sales were foreign buyers
which is nothing
in Ontario, not even Canada, like in
Toronto. So
it's
minute, it's not going to fix anything. If that's what you guys are hoping for, it's not.
I think these are just marketing ploys. Moving on to the vacant home tax.
That's a fun one.
That's a fun one. Everyone that owns a property in Toronto must have received a yellow paper that you have to fill out. So one thing I want to bring to your attention, if you are selling your property, so if between January 1st to February, you are selling your home
as 2023.
In 2023, as a seller, you have to fill that out. The buyer shouldn't fill it out. You have to fill it out. So make sure to fill it, otherwise you're going to get hit by the tax. From February to the end of December, the buyer has to fill it out in 2024. Okay? So be sure to not mess up on that.
Which reminds me of like the luxury tax that they implement.
Luxury tax is on the cars,
boats,
cars. Boats, cars, and planes. So I want to talk about the dates though. So from up to February 2nd, if you're selling, as a seller, you have to submit that form. February 3rd onward, the purchaser has to submit that. And the other one is an immigration numbers that we talked about. Yep. So in 2022, we had 431,645 new permanent residents.
We're talking immigration, but we're not factoring in migration from other parts of Canada that's added to that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because a lot of people migrate to Toronto because of job opportunities. We got so many.
Or language barriers. Like I'm from Quebec and everyone's like, I'm coming.
We got big companies, Shopify, Google in Toronto.
Tech.
Yeah, tech hubs. I mean, for example, good example is Well Condos that has a huge commercial portion, and all these offices need to be filled. So people are going to migrating to Toronto because of that.
Well, not Shopify, because they just pulled out.
Yeah, they actually pulled out. They had a lease, they pulled out. So scrap that.
Someone else.
Someone else is going to go take that place. And there's a huge mall underneath it. Imagine the amount of employment that mall is going to provide. I mean, like the size of the mall underneath the well is the size of shops at Don Mills. So again, employment opportunity, people will come in. But in 2023, what they're expecting is 465,000 people and 485,000 people in 2024. Where all these people are gonna go.
And there's that stat that I just heard that 80% of immigrants actually purchase and 20% rent within that first year for 2 years. And then...
Yeah, so majority of them will be purchasing, and majority of them will come to big cities like Toronto, Vancouver. So although right now things kind of seem gloomy, it's a cycle. It will pass.
I'm curious just February, March, what's going to happen, because January is always a write-off a little bit.
I think the way it's going to go, again, prediction for the year. Prediction for the year. I think things are going to start picking up around March.
Me too.
And then as soon as news is out that there's no more interest rate hike, things are going to just go crazy. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of the year, if either banks or government reduces the interest rate. Banks can do it in terms of giving discounts on the rates, so making more appealing to people to purchase. Things are going to pick up. And remember, we're well below average sales for the last 6 months. And these are people that are holding back to purchase. So the purchases are being deferred to future. And once they come out, we don't have enough inventory to sustain it. So the prices will go up. Anything else to add to it?
No, that was perfect.
So this episode was a long one. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you again think anyone will find this useful, be sure to share.
And like and subscribe.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys.